Alrighty then. Hello everyone. Welcome. We are so sorry for the delay, but we have for you two incredible best of nines coming up today. The first one, of course, will be Future versus MaxPax. It's going to be best of nine, alternating US East, EU West. With our first map will be Pillars of Gold. With me, I have Alpha X's very own Black One. Now, Black One, how's it going today?
Feeling pretty good. Just got a nice dinner in, and now I'm ready for some amazing TvP action.
Yeah, Future, you know, of course, the up-and-coming Future of Terran, as he likes to call himself, one of the great upcoming American Terrans, versus MaxPax, the Danish mad lad that never builds anything properly, but, you know, I guess it works because it's not built properly, but, you know, hold that thought for half a second, because we have game number one, and let's get on into it.
Let's do so indeed. And will you do the first introduction?
Of course, my friend. And here we are in the bottom left. In the red for Alpha X, it is Future. And in the upper right, in the green.
He's the green.
My bad, friend. Go ahead.
He's the green Protoss player. He is MaxPax.
There we go. I just realized we're just missing one last thing as I scrambled to try to get everything working. I did not set up my player intros, so we didn't quite see their logos, but that will be fixed for the next one. As we have MaxPax, of course, playing for Team Exxon, which is interesting, of course, because Exxon and both Alpha X are both pretty solid North American teams, but they have definitely been expanding over the last several months with Alpha X with their Korea Squadron, MaxPax for Exxon, etc.
You're right. Like, I can mostly talk about Alpha X in this position because obviously I'm part of Alpha X, and we have been gaining a lot of pure muscle, to be honest, with Ragnarok joining the squad, Future joining the squad. Before that, we even had Baby Marine joining. That's some talent right there. And I'm excited to see Future play today. TvP, always kind of the matchup that Terrans fear the most. We'll see how this goes, because MaxPax is known to have his own style in every matchup, and TvP especially. I mean, who doesn't know the good old MaxPax proxy gate?
Yeah, well, the good news we have there, of course, is MaxPax. Well, if we're talking about strange games, MaxPax is not going for the MaxPax build, at least not this game number one. It may be the fact that it is Golden Wall, or Pillars of Gold, and, you know, that's an interesting map. It may just be that that is not exactly his planning here. But on the flip side, we do have Future as well, going for your standard opening. It's a Reaper expand eventually. Actually, no, Reaper was made. A Reaper was made. Shame on me, right? We do, however, have an Adept running in to the natural of Future, going to try to see what he can do to cancel the CC, and he actually will be able to get the CC, so that's a massive thing. Any sort of delay that you can accomplish as you're trying to prevent the Terran from really getting ahead here is nice, because mules are important.
Getting those SCVs, getting the Marine kill as well, this will put a lot of pressure on Future, especially with that Stalker joining up, and he might just... okay. Command center finishes, so does the bunker. Bunker really crucial to defend against any other units rallying across. With those two additional Marines, I don't think he can quite force out the Adept and the Stalker yet. But with the next round of Marines, he might just be able to do so. Hellion on the way, of course, to get that extra scout in together with the Reaper. And even add a little bit of damage against those Stalkers, the Adept. Nice micro here by Future.
And we actually do have a little bit of mismicro here from MaxPax as he micros his Stalkers up the ramp, still out of the way, and does take that extra shot from the Stalker. And he loses one for his transgression here, as now we have Future on the back foot from the start of this game, now taking his position back in the middle of the map. Map control is, of course, one of the most important things. One of the most, I guess, soft assets that you can maintain in a game of StarCraft as you try and try and try. If you can force your opponent back, that gives you much more room, of course, to expand, to take care of what you want to do, while your opponent just kind of has to sit back and cry in their corner of the map. That being said, it's only minor map control at this point, as Future pushes the Stalkers back, gets an Adept and a Stalker for his troubles, but in fact loses a Hellion in return. So you win some, you lose some. No one really getting a massive advantage here in this game number 1.
No, I agree to a certain point, but I like this position for MaxPax because he did get the Reaper and the Hellion and denied scouts of any sort with those units. So Future is basically just playing blind. He's going for a Raven, he's getting a tank, all of those things you need to defend against any kind of shenanigans that could come from the Protoss. Well, MaxPax on the other hand, he's playing safe, but certainly not too safe. Getting the 3rd Nexus pretty soon, I would imagine. Okay, there it is.
And it's actually really an interesting development in PvT in the last several months, where you see Protoss really with Parting kind of starting things with his 3-gate contain aggression here, where behind it you see the Protoss expanding almost as quickly as a Zerg would, where you see them, they get to 5 bases almost, 4 or 5 bases before the Terran even lands the 3rd base, and then they just kind of go into this mass gateway style. Which sure you have some power units, and that has always been the case of how the Protoss works, but with such a higher economy than the matchup has traditionally seen, as we do see MaxPax now looking to take to engage in the sort of aggression that we talked about that Blink enables here, but with a tank in the natural and a massive ball in the Marines in the main. I don't really think MaxPax can do a whole lot here outside of maybe make the Terran be a little scared, but there is nothing for the Terran to be scared of, as well there are lots of Marines in his future. And actually, oh, that is a missed blink there as he blinks down the high ground, loses a Stalker for his transgressions. And, well, now that gives Future the opportunity to load up 2 Medivacs and a Raven to go across the map, try to see what he can get done, finally establish some sort of tempo control for himself here. As MaxPax just...
I don't really like him taking the Raven with him. He could have just went for some observer snipes around his main base. Instead, he decided to take it with him. It gives him a little bit more punch in his attack now, walking into the 3rd base, but those Marines won't do too well against the Colossi that are about to pop.
Actually, though, that is why the Raven is with him, as the Raven will allow the Colossi to do nothing in the upcoming engagement, should he decide to take it. And we have Future actually winning on both fronts. All of those Blink Stalkers dying that were sitting outside of his 3rd base, and Future now storming in, up 30 supply. Only 1 Colossus now for the forces of MaxPax, and that Colossus really, well, it means something now because there's no energy left on the Raven, but now he's going to stim on top of it, and with this shield, wow, I can talk, with the
Guardian Shield.
Thank you, Guardian Shield active here. It's not exactly a fight that he can take, but now with a siege tank here in the Marauders, stemming on top of the Colossus here, and this is Future just powering in here. Although that Colossus just barely goes down, and with it, there we have it, MaxPax. Future taking game number 1 of this best of 9.
Impressive play by Future here.
Very
Getting that
much
super safe opener, going for those tanks, going for the Raven, and hitting a nice timing with Stim and Combat Shields done.
Yep, Future really just... MaxPax just did not get enough damage done. Right, he lost a couple Stalkers. He just didn't quite take care of what he needed to take care of to really find that advantage to keep his opponent back. Because if you think about it, this Blink style where you kind of expand pretty fast behind is very similar to, say, the 2-base Muto style that Zerg will go for, where your entire goal is you lean on the Terran as hard as you can, and that allows you to get away with a lot more than you think you might be able to get away with normally. But I believe we need to go to Europe now, correct?
You might just be correct.
Alright, I see people leaving. Yeah, gonna go to Europe, and I'm also going to close my window so we don't hear EMS coming behind.
There's something with that build out of MaxPax just seemed weird to me, because his Nexus was rather late, even though he didn't really commit into tech super hard. He did go for that Colossi tech, but it only. Oh no, we're starting the match.
Oh, did I not get in? I was on my way.
I don't. Ah. Okay, I'll just write in the chat. So MaxPax did go for later expansion and even a later tech with that robotics bay.
So are we supposed to be on Europe right now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in Europe on the channel's the same Alpha Pro series. Because I don't see any. Okay, there we go. There we go. Vitamin's in, so he's gonna save me. Gonna get me into that game, hopefully.
So I wrote Vitamin that you were missing, and he left the game. And first thing that came out of MaxPax was GLHF. I'm not
There
sure
we
if
go.
Okay. There we go. Everybody on board this time around.
Yep. And I'm ready to go. Alright, now game number 2 will be on Eternal Empire. That's a little bit more defensive of a map. It's a lot easier to take your third base. It's much more of a macro map compared to what we had in Pillars of Gold with how wide open that third is. But really, both thirds are difficult to take on Pillars of Gold. But that is not exactly the case on Eternal Empire. So what do you think we're going to get here? Same kind of thing, or a little bit more of a macro opening?
I think we'll see the same kind of thing. Maybe some Hellion drop kind of harass out of future, because that has been pretty strong recently. But we'll see about that.
All right, then. Let's figure out what's going to happen, because we have game number 2, and let's load on into it. Alrighty here, then. Spawning at the bottom left. In the blue, down 1-0, it is MaxPax.
And spawning in the top right, he's the Red Terran representing Alpha X. Give it up for Future. Hey,
there we go.
We
have... There we go. We have the background audience now going for us. So, and we actually have the logos. I got everything set up properly, so we're good to go on from here on out. And again, anyone watching, I apologize for any sort of production issues. Originally, Black One was supposed to stream, but his internet became choppy, so we had to swap over to me at the last second. I had to build assets as soon as I could. But the show must go on, as they say, especially a show as good as this, as Future. Well, he showed some significant tenacity in that game number 1. Sure, his CC was delayed. Didn't really matter all that much, as he was able to catch a stalker here and there. MaxPax just caught sleeping. He lost half of his army outside of Future's base, which made that push that Future was going for so much more powerful than it really was. But you know, here this is a new day. It's a new game, and MaxPax up to his shenanigans, just stopping the natural from going down as long as possible, which means that first adept move out that he was so successful with in that game number 1 will be able to potentially do the same thing, although this time it's at the cost of a probe.
Oh, did he just... Yeah, he skipped the Reaper. So all the scouting information that could come for Future needs to come from SCVs walking across the map. Upside of this play is you get your factory a little bit quicker, you get that reactor a little bit quicker. So Hellion play still a possibility. Not. I don't want to paint that devil on the wall, but this looks like Hellion play, and this looks pretty good for MaxPax with that Stargate coming in.
I don't see. That's always a good question, right? So if it's just pure Hellions, right? So pure Hellions going on, trying to run in. Stargates, it's okay, it's not okay. That's very much an execution game more than anything else. But you talk about Hellions, and we do have Hellions come out of here. But this is more than just your standard. We're gonna run in with Hellions, something else type of play. As we have a proxy starport on the way, really out of the way on the secondary Rich Vespine on the left-hand side for Future here, as he looks to probably just elevator in Hellions into the main base, into the natural of MaxPax. And that is arguably where the Stargate play that you were talking about comes into, it shows the most benefit here. And as I say that, we do have a couple Liberators out, so this is just going to be a rather committed harassment play early on here, as a Liberator probably goes in one base and Hellions run through. Just to force more reaction than the couple of depths that MaxPax has is really able to deal with. We're going up to a lot of Hellions. This is going up to 6 Hellions.
I love the addition of the late Reaper. If your opponent decides to go for a wall off at the natural, you can just jump the blocking units out of the way with that Reaper grenade and get in either way. Now Future is putting a lot of money into this, because the Liberator costs a lot of stuff. Second Liberator queue, okay. You did go for 6 Hellions, so this really needs to do some damage. And well, MaxPax, he is adding additional tech. He has some Phoenix out, but he does not have a wall off at the natural. The Hellions are now closing in. Let's see how much damage they can do.
So now we have them running in. He was not able to quite get the body block that he wanted to with the Adepts here, as the Hellions run into the main base, just roasting everything now, as 10 workers go down, and we have yet more going down in the natural. That is absolutely uncontested here, as this looks like just MaxPax is, well, he looks dead in the water. It is now 23 workers to 35 of the Terran, and you never, of course, want to have more... you never want to have less workers than the Terran opponent, because mules are a thing. And now we have this Reaper, this one Hellion getting getting a couple more workers in. And the question now is, what can MaxPax do to get back into this game? He has 4 Hellions and 3 Adepts, and he finds himself down 13 workers against a Terran with double mules. What can he do here to try to come back? It's not even like he has some massive army lead where he just traded his economy out but didn't lose any army, and then we're fine. Army supply is equal. Actually, it's ahead for Future here.
I would call this critical damage. Not gonna lie, with those Phoenix on the map, you might be able to keep the Terran contained for a little bit, because you have the high mobility unit, and you can get some harassment in. But I think as soon as Future pulls the trigger, MaxPax is just straight up dead. He's trying to go into Colossi tech. Might want to go for those disruptors, because those Hail Mary shots might just save you, but GG is called.
No Hail Mary shots in this game, as MaxPax just realizes that, well, there is 0 chance he's going to get in here, especially after he loses 5 more probes to the Liberator coming back on in. Makes life rather hard for you as you move across.
I really like the build order here by Future. Like, if you're MaxPax, you see the reactor at the factory, and you think to yourself, okay, this might just translate to a Hellion drop, and you position your Phoenix accordingly. And then there's just Liberators in your natural. The Hellions run into your main base, and from then on it's just pure chaos, and you need to hold on. The sheet battery in the main base was a nice idea, but I really think he needed those additional gateways at the natural to block those Hellions from coming in.
Definitely, and you know, again, shield batteries are nice, but when you hit, I believe it's 3 Hellions is the magic number to just one-shot probes, which means that doesn't matter whether you have a shield battery or not. If you can micro your Hellions, and you have a little extra damage from the Reaper, if you can micro them properly so they just fire at once and the shield battery doesn't matter, especially there, because it really forced a split of attention for MaxPax. As on the one hand, it looks like I need to fix something in my overlay. Health bars normal. I like having all health bars, but we're going to that because that's been requested.
Oh, you too? I used to always play with health bars on all the time.
Yeah. It feels weird to not.
And then I casted for a clan once, and they said, this is so ugly. It's so weird to look at health bars all the time, and they wanted me to get only damage in, I think.
Yeah, damaged or
And that's what I
normal
did,
or
and since then.
whatever. Yeah, again, I really like seeing as much information as I can. Actually, I'm gonna go damaged, I think. So, I like the most possible information or amount of information available to me, but I understand that that is not everyone, and well, you know, you go with what you can, and I think the standard is just damaged health parts, which is fine. So now we have map number 3. It will be on Death Aura, Future with a 2-0 lead, looking to just steamroll through things as much as he can. Are you in this? Are you? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm in. This time around, we didn't miss anyone.
Yep. I just see that your user or your username is not your ID is not the same as it is below you. It is not the same as it is on Europe. It is in fact a little bit different. So you can understand my
Slightly.
confusion.
Okay, this map will be Death Aura, and shall we just get into player introduction?
Sounds good to me. Here we go. And here we are spawning in the bottom right. In the green for Exxon, down 2-0. It is MaxPax.
And of course, the red American Dragon. He is representing Team Alpha X. Give it up for Future.
Finding himself up in a dominant position in this series thus far as well. He only has 3 more games to go to win. It's interesting. You have this kind of mental arithmetic in your head when you're looking at, this is a best of series. Oh, it's a best of 3. Okay. Well, that's kind of how this goes. There's room for maybe 1 cheese, yada yada, as you look to try to figure things out. Best of 5. Okay, there's room for a little more mind games. There's room for a little bit stranger builds. Once you go up a little bit, well, it makes life a little bit. You can experiment. You can throw some odd things on the chance to get a cheap win. Best of 7. Well, that's even more so. How does a best of 9 work, right? If you think about the meta that builds itself within a series, best of 7. That's kind of the longest we see in professional StarCraft nowadays, unless it's something like a show match. And that it's just it's a different beast entirely. I don't know what your feelings are on the matter, but
Well, the thing with best of 9s is you have so many matches to play. Like, even if your opponent doesn't win a map or you lose every map, there is still 5 maps to go minimum, right? So going for 5 different build orders might be a little hard. So you start mixing your basic build orders up just a little bit to confuse your opponent, and I think that's what we'll start to see. I love that Future already started this with his proxy starport. Like, usually you expect a medivac. He went for the Liberator first. From there on out, you can still go for the medivac in the next game or the game after that. Now, this time around, there will be something proxied once again. Well, they're not. Let's see. What's the SCV doing there?
That's either proxy, but more importantly, that looks like it's going to be a scout. Oh, no, it's proxy starport again. I was going to say, because there is that SOS build that we saw in... No, Purting build, I believe. That saw a proxy on the other side of the rocks, and then build the robo on the close side on this map. But that's not what we're going to see here, as we do have Hellions now moving out, and this looks really to be a repeat of what we saw the previous game, except it's not really, because it looks like we're going to see some sort of tank shenanigans here, as there is a tech lab on the way here from Future on his factory. It's not going to be the reactored Hellions that we saw last game, even if the build-up appears to be similar up until that point, as there's only 1 Hellion.
Once again, it's the same setup, but a different execution. You have the factory, you have that first marine, then the reactor, and you have the proxy starport. But it's a different twist to it, and that's what makes build orders really difficult to deal with, especially in best of 9s and best of 7s.
Now, it should be pointed out if you're... Oh, okay, never mind. He just did a supply drop. But the interesting thing here is we have Vikings coming out of this. Like, this is almost just like a proxy start... I guess, okay, so has he scouted the fact that there's a Stargate? He has not, but he sees the Phoenix now. But I'm wondering if these Vikings are just here so the tanks can get a good siege up, because now we do have Future running in and actually pulling a couple SCVs here. This is a incredibly committed push.
Well, anyways, even if there was not a Stargate for MaxPax, those Vikings add that extra little bit of damage against stalkers that might get warped in if this was standard Twilight Council opening. But now MaxPax is trying to get on top of this Terran army, and Future is doing quite a good job in kiting backwards and killing off those support units for the Immortal.
Yeah, not just trying, he is succeeding here, as the push of Future will in fact be shoved back. And this was committed, right? This was not just your standard, oh, I'm going to move a couple tanks, I'm going to bring an SCV to build a bunker. This is a lot of SCVs moving across the map. This was a proxied starport to get things faster still. And we really have no upgrades on the way here for Bio. The stim is eons from completion if he decides to even start it. And now MaxPax finds himself in an excellent position here as he tries and tries and tries to claw his way back into the series. And actually he doesn't have enough energy, funnily enough, to use these Phoenix to actually get rid of these tanks, because that was a tank free for the tanking. But it will get back safely, and instead one Marine will trade his life in exchange here.
My life for Ayur? What would a Marine say in that kind of situation?
Or I can't do the Marine voice, but you know, the dying Marine sound.
Okay, even more Phoenixes are coming in. Now the Phoenix can just pick up the tanks, and there isn't really anything to combat those, except those Marines. But those Marines are just so slow that the Phoenix come in, take off a tank or some SCVs, and then get out again. And this way, MaxPax is in a great position to just snowball his lead that he gained through defending that early aggression out of Future. And Future needs to really to find a way to deal with those Phoenix, because they are just getting more in numbers.
Yeah, that is definitely the case. The Phoenix are in a dominant position in this game. And, you know, generally the Magic rule, if you're playing Phoenix classes, you go up to about 5 Phoenix, and that's all you need. Here, MaxPax is just saying, hey, look, I have control of the skies, and in doing so, I have control of the ground. I'm just going to keep building Phoenix, and there's nothing you can do about it. Look, I'm up 30 supply. Like, what are you going to really be able to do here as Future once again tries to move out? He has 1-1 on the way.
Oh my
he has
God.
Stim on the way. And yeah, sure, he loses a Phoenix and takes damage on another, but I'm not sure that's the significant thing that it looks like here. As Future's just looks like he's trying to establish a third, but I don't know how smart it is for him to be on the map when he is so much in the pot, as it were. With 1-1, with Stim, all these different things.
Yeah, those Phoenix might just pick up some reinforcements, so they do. Getting another tank at that third base. Those Marines are slowly... And Future seems like he doesn't really know where to go with his army right now. He's just moving in front of his third base, trying to catch any sort of spotting units for MaxPax or reinforcements for the Phoenix. But those Phoenix are already way gone back in the main base of MaxPax, defending any kind of drop harassment that Future could be going for. Now, I like the composition that Future is opting for. He's going for the Marine tank composition, which is great against poorly upgraded ground armies, like the one that MaxPax is building with those Colossus and those Chargelets. Chargelets will just melt to those Marines, and the tanks will focus fire down those Colossi so fast
Yeah, you're
I don't
definitely right here.
think-
There is a, should it survive this far, there's going to be a timing here where Future's going to have, sure, combat shields, that's going to be nice, but the big thing is he's going to be up 3 upgrades, right? He's it is a single forge from MaxPax here, which I have to question. Of course, these pro players are far better than you or I, but when you are that far ahead economically against a Terran player, and you can kind of see that you have pinned them back, going for just 1 upgrade and really not even spending a ton of that much chrono in completing it, means it's going to be eventually 2-2 versus 0-1. I mean, maybe 0-2, but upgrades do make a difference here, even as the Protoss does have a significant amount of splash. And there we do. We have the second forge on the way, but I wonder if it is too little, too late. The question, though, is whether Future's ever going to be in a position where he feels like he can use that minor advantage. Because advantages are great, right? You know, oh, great, I want to be ahead in things. But if I can't really use it because my army's too small, I don't have enough economy, whatever the case may be, does it really matter? If a tree falls in the forest, does the Terran really hear? I don't know.
Depends on if the Medivac is above him or not. I imagine those to be really noisy.
But now we have our 1-1 timing here with combat shields, with stim, and a decent amount of tanks. 7 tanks coming in.
Nice timing here for Future. He's adding those this Ghost Academy. Ghosts will obviously be great
those Colossus shots, though. My goodness. This is probably at least the best start of a fight that Future could ever take. That being said, he's moving into a choke here, and this concave from Future may be enough, but I am not convinced here, as the Colossi are just free-firing away, and there we have it. GG. MaxPax back on the board. 1-2.
Big problem with this kind of composition is when you get caught unsieged, and that's exactly what MaxPax managed to do. Those tanks were just sieging up, and the Colossi already killed half of the Marine army. At the same time, well, there was a second kind of splash as well with those Archons. Those Archons, as soon as they get close to your Marines, they will just zap on through them.
Yeah, you just had 4 Colossi with extended range just taking massive, massive swaths of Marines down with them, especially with the Archons in the front as well. And while Future really did have a pretty dang good concave after that fight, right? After that initial 2 or 3 swipes of the Colossus, I'm not convinced that was enough. Well, it wasn't enough. And really, he just got caught in a bad position. And actually, he was in a fairly good position going up into that fight. He was up on army supply just a little. He was up an upgrade. Sure, it was just Marines, but there was definitely things he could do. But again, positioning is just as important as any other aspect of this game, and MaxPax definitely outpositioned him in that game number 3. But game number 4 is Submarine, and we're loading into it. The smallest map in the pool. So we've had a couple of nice big macro maps. Although Death Aura, whether that's a macro, it's not as big as the other couple, but some fairly big maps. And now we're moving to the smallest map in the pool with a couple of players that love their aggression. But we should probably introduce things.
Sure, we should. Spawning in the bottom right, he's the red Terran player. He's representing Alpha X. Give it up for Future.
And on the other side of the map, in the blue, off a great hold, taking game number 3, it is Exxon's very own MaxPax.
Oh, MaxPax, is this your signature move?
I mean,
Please tell me this is the signature move.
If there is a map to do it on, if there's a map to do it on, it is Submarine. Let's be real here. It is the shortest map we've had in like 2 years or something, something ridiculous. But yeah, the
I was already like, I got into this map and I thought to myself, hey, you know what? This map is great for something really aggressive like the MaxPax, but it's kind of obvious, isn't it, if MaxPax goes for a MaxPax on the smallest map there is?
Well, you know, there's an argument to be made, actually, that the smaller the map, the worse a build like a proxy is, right, a MaxPax build, because there's A, less space, and B, the advantage you have, how much earlier things happen, is not quite as much, right? Because, you know, hey, it's a small map, I expect pressure, it's a small map, I'm going to be able to scout earlier, things like that. And sure, you know, it's a proxy, things get there a little bit faster, but the advantage you have for just building your base is not as significant. The change is not as significant as, say, building it on Golden Wall and what's the longest on Ice and Chrome, and hitting that much faster than someone would expect. But anyways,
Future going for that low ground expand. He scouts the main, sees no gateway. By now he should know what's coming at him. His Reaper is almost finished. He's getting a Marine right after. Keeping the Reaper at home and pulling those SCVs is a great choice, because now he might just be able to defend those first couple of Zealots, but he needs to be super precise with his micro. First bunker gets cancelled immediately, and now it's all the micro.
and as a reminder here, this is the server that Future is favored on. This is USD. This is not our European server matchup. Actually, no, sorry, this is our European server matchup, which what means, of course, is Future is maybe going to struggle to micro a little bit more. And actually, there we do have it. He loses the Reaper, and there we have it. GG. We're tied up. It's now only a best of 5, which is a crazy thing to say. It's just a best of 5. Wow, we've played 4 games, and we still have that much to go. That's exciting. I like it. But now we are back to the Americas, as is Future's home domain. As he is, of course, the future of tech.
Funny? Like, we already had four matches, and all of them were pretty one-sided, if we come to think of it. Like, none of those games really looked super, like, back and forth. At no point you thought, okay, this is either one's game, because, like, Eternal Empire, we saw MaxPax just lose everything in terms of probes. On Pillars of Gold, Future just ran over him with a nice bio timing. On Submarine, MaxPax went for his signature move.
Yeah,
did it perfectly.
I was honestly very surprised we didn't see Future just cancel the low ground CC, rebuild it on the high ground, and say, hey, look, you know what? You're gonna have to get through wall, and I have enough stuff. Which is kind of how I see most Terrans deal with that. But I guess if you're not used to it, you're not used to it.
I think if you micro this perfectly on the low ground, it's fine. But the biggest problem is he just didn't expect the MaxPax and got caught off guard. Like, just building your command center on the high ground from the beginning on is pretty much a hard counter to this build.
That is true, but we have game number 5 ready, so let's get on into it.
Let's do so indeed. Spawning in the top right, he's a red Terran player representing Team Alpha X. Give it up for Future.
All right, in the bottom left, in the green, taking game number 4 off of the build named after him and him alone, it is MaxPax. And I can control my mouse. There we go. Good enough. But hey, you know what? Things are already different, because we have our first gate for MaxPax, and it is not built on some other part of the map. It is not built near Future's base. It is, in fact, built next to his Nexus. And what's also interesting about this, now, I don't play enough Protoss. I don't really understand. Why is MaxPax going for building his gateway near his Nexus instead of blocking the Reaper off on the Reaper cliff like you occasionally see?
Well, you can block the Reaper. Like, if the Reaper goes into the main base of the Protoss, you can block him with the gateway and the cybernetics core wall, and you're still able to move out the way with your probes if a Widowmine drop comes in. Also, if there's a tank push early on in the game and you go for the Reaper jump spot on this map, you just lose your tech.
Okay, so it's so yeah. Well, you know, other things to talk about here is I try to talk about the intricacies of building placement. We have 2 gas steels. We have one on either side of the map. We have an eBay block. Things are getting crazy because it's game number 5, and we've already, you know, we've gotten our standard builds out of the way, and now it's time for players to just go really crazy, I guess. We don't have MaxPax isn't even... Nothing's been really working on this eBay block. He's just going to have a incredibly delayed Nexus, but I guess so is Future here as he's building a high ground bunker. Like...
When I saw Future move out with that SCV as early as he did, I thought, okay, this is going to be Proxy Reaper, right? And then he just goes directly to the natural and builds the eBay. He is expecting some aggression out of MaxPax because he did block the natural, and he did get that gas seal as well. But as of right now, MaxPax looks pretty confident in this position.
He does, and despite the delay that he had in his natural and how much longer it kind of felt like he was going to take to put it down versus the command center, well, with the time it's going to take the command center to float over, there's really not that much difference at all. And we do have MaxPax going for that Stargate play. He appears to like so much. Once again, now the question, of course, is this Oracle? I don't think so. He has really shown a proclivity for Phoenix in this game, and that gives him a little more flexibility to flex a whole lot more. But we shall see here, as now we do have our Terran really hamstrung his tech choice department here, as he's only just now getting that second gas done at 3 minutes and 30 on into the game. And, you know, I talked about, oh, it's going to be Phoenix, because he's done Phoenix 3 games, every Stargate build he's played this game. Yeah, no, there's an Oracle on production. I should just learn to not talk.
Those players just really want to prove you wrong every time.
They're literally... So, they're not stream cheating. You know, we don't have a delay here, so we can talk to people. It's a good time. But they're literally just listening in onto the stream. And not just stream cheat, because they would never do that, but just to listen to what I'm saying and do the opposite, which I guess is kind of stream cheating, but it's stream cheating against yourself. So...
Okay, this would be a smart move. That's the complete opposite.
But we do have... Actually, the Adept gets into the main base here. Is it going to be able to, well, at least prevent the creation of that second barracks for the time being, as an Oracle is in. And there's really just too many Marines here to get much done with that Oracle. But there's a second one on the way, and that should allow for something to happen. The Adept, well, it gets one SCV. It delays the building time of that second barracks. And I guess that's good. It's not the end of the world. Really not earth-shattering change in any way, shape, or form. I think you'd rather have the Adept at the end of the day rather than losing one SCV, but the Scout and the delay, maybe that's worth it. As we have a Twilight Council coming here from MaxPax, and is this delayed Blink? Or are we just moving to Charge and Colossus eventually? What do you think?
This is going to be interesting, because MaxPax is getting super greedy. He's taking that third Nexus. He's adding the Twilight Council tech. He's adding a Forge. He's getting Phoenix now, and all of that on 3 gates. Now he is going into Charge. I wonder if he's going to strike with a really zealot heavy timing early on, or like in the mid game ish, because he will have a lot of income with those three bases, and going for Charge already, he will have a lot of warp gates to warp those chargelets in and just try to roll over Future.
You know, now that you mention that, this is looking at least a little like it's shaping up for that skillless Hellraiser build we see, where they go up to 10, 12 gates off of just pure charge lots, and they're on three-ish gas that just allows them to keep building their armor upgrades. And the whole goal is, of course, just to overwhelm the Terran, to say, hey, look, you're going for some push, you're going for a 2-gate push, fine, come at me. I'm just going to go and overwhelm you from every side with massive amounts of heavily upgraded chargelets. Although, this is an interesting innovation, because generally when you see that, right, you see it, they're at a certain point they even stop mining gas, and it's just masses of chargelets. Here we do see Phoenix is being built like this, and to my knowledge, Phoenix chargelot's not a thing. Now, it may be something that he decides to go for.
Chargelet Archon is a thing. He's adding the Templar Archive now, and I want, like, do you really go for Storm at this point?
Yeah, I don't think you have time here. This is a 2-base all-in coming here from Future. There is no third base on the way, and these Phoenix are going to try to be able to snipe this Raven. If they can snipe this Raven before they move across the map, that's massive, but the Raven matters a whole lot less than it did, you know, previous games. There is no robo on the map whatsoever here. It is just charge lots, and it is 6 gates.
Oh my god.
Oh, charge light. That is a massive
That's
flank
wrong.
coming in from around here. And there we have it. Now we do have the Dorito cannon on the front, but man, we have a massive surround here all over the place. And MaxPax looking to clean up Future as Future micros in the main base with no healing left. And what a great force field here. Now, Future up on army supply when this started is now heinously down as these charge lights just get on top of everything that Future holds dear. And this push, well, it looks pretty stalled out. As sure, there are a couple of units of MaxPax Future's army moving across the map, but that does not matter in the against the sheer might of 6x6x6 chargeless moving across the map with Archons as well. And this is pretty much, with how delayed this attack was from Future here, this is a kind of almost exactly what MaxPax was looking for Future to do. Just a massive attack, but hey, he's going to lose the Phoenix. So the random Widow Mines do something.
Randomly, yeah, those random Widow Mines on the map just really getting some work off. At least keeping the Protoss back, because they can never be sure where there is a Widow Mine. They always have to pay attention on where the Phoenix are moving, where the Zealots are moving, because coming in with a push and half of your army is already low on hit points, that's not that great of a push, really.
Yeah, and we do have Future adding on, progressing on from the tech path that he has chosen here. We do have more Phoenix on the way, of course, but we do have +2 halfway done, +2 armor. We do have a Robo on the way. A couple Archons are being built. So there is a transition out of this for MaxPax, even as he was able to just dominate that initial push from Future and put himself in a fairly solid position, all things considered. That being said, the supplies are still relatively even, and Future is climbing ahead in army once again as he prepares for the second bout of aggression that he's going for here. And actually, here we have it at the moment. And so these Phoenix are... So actually, this Zealot's going to scout the massive move out. And this is a ton of Marauders. Now, don't you really want a bunch of... aren't Marines better than Marauders against Zealots? No, Marauders are better, right? Because Zealots have a lot of armor.
Well, the DPS is great with the Marines, but you also kind of want to have that slow, and with those Widow Mines you have a lot of DPS, and
those Widow Mine connections are disgusting here. And 30 of MaxPax's army supply disappears in a second as they continue to kite. And I'm not sure that massive surround that MaxPax even had set up for this game, I don't think it matters as well. Widow Mines are powerful things, but you know, this is a lot of beef to MaxPax's army here, and there's opportunities for him to maybe get something done, but it looks like he is in fact overcommitted as Future, his reinforcements now catching up with his main army, just microing back, dealing with these chargeless as they come. Actually, that one Widow Mine will not burrow, and it looks like MaxPax will hold strong once again. Future just underestimating the sheer bulk that these chargelets can supply to this army as the Phoenix fire overhead. And it is 4 bases to 3, so MaxPax, he has the money. He has 70 workers. He can do this as long as he wants. But we do have Ghosts on the other side of the map here. Enhanced Shockwave as well. So that's going to make these chargelets a whole lot less effective than they were.
That's a great point you just mentioned there. The Ghosts coming in will just make MaxPax's army so much weaker because the shields are instantly down. And then it's just Widow Mines hitting your bear Zealots, the Marines and Marauders really putting on that DPS onto your army. And even those Archons he added in earlier, they would just go down to 15 hit points? 30 hit points?
Something small like that. Now, it should be noted, of course, that in the midst of this fight, MaxPax was able to get a second Forge on the way. He has +1 completed. So now there's actually there is a +1 upgrade lead coming here from MaxPax as he looks to take the next couple fights. And actually, it will be a 2 upgrade lead as +3 armor is just about done. So there's going to be, again, that really nice 2 upgrade lead with this just mass gateway force that we see here, especially with these with the disruptors on the way. And you know what? I don't think MaxPax wants to take this fight. Not with the Widow Mines, not with the Ghosts, not with everything else. But again, disruptors are on the way. We have Warp Prism Speed on the way as well. And actually, there's a large amount of charge slots in the main pacer, and they're going to snipe. They're going to snipe +2 armor. That is massive. That's just propagating the upgrade advantage that future that MaxPax already has in this game here. MaxPax once again going in. That's a second shockwave on the same set of Zealots with no shield. So they're just going to keep crushing here. And now we just see this upgrade advantage that I've been talking about really showing its worth here. As well, sure, there's an army, there are ghosts, there are all these things that are nominally good against the Terran player, but in that run by, the Zealots are still alive, and MaxPax just warping in more and more here. And what's the Terran going to do? He's going to be forced to give up his position on the 4th base, which is where the majority of MaxPax's army is. So now we have MaxPax's army. Go ahead.
That was a little bit of a sloppy play here by Future, not to get those turrets in the main base to be safe against those War Prism harassments. But oh my god, if those disruptors continue getting hits like this, I see Future forfeiting this really soon. Those Zealots in the main base still not cleaned up, or at least the War Prism still not cleaned up. Zealots still getting massive amounts of damage in. Now the 4th base is under pressure once again. The EMPs land and do take off a lot of those beefy Archon shields, but there's just so much going on for MaxPax now, warping in at the 3rd base. And once again, a base is not mining, and how much mining do we actually have for Future here in comparison to MaxPax?
Well, a whole lot less here, as those disruptor shots are massive connections. They're not killing anything that's real, but they're killing a bunch of mules. And that is useful in and of itself. And now I'm going to take a second as... Well, okay, we'll talk about this later, I guess. Actually, that's a great job here. The Liberators are able to take out the Warp Prism, so the massive pressure sitting on the 3rd base of or the main base of our Terran player, well, it's alleviated just for the time being here. As well, that's a lot of disruptors, though. The Terran's going to try to chase, but disruptors do disruptory things, and, well, chasing is hard.
They disrupt you.
they disrupt your game plan, that's for daggone sure. And it disrupts any sort of future that Future may have in this game. I'll stop. I'm sorry. I'm bad and I should feel bad. But now we have Future just stemming in on top of everything, and these disruptors are going to go down before they get their shots off. And Future, he is in a massive position here. I can't believe it. He was so far behind. He's down 2 upgrades. And he is in a dominant position here. Sure, there are a lot of Archons here, but it's what, Archon Disruptor, and the disruptors fire every 45 seconds? That's not enough. It's used up 30 army supply. Future, how did you make this work? But that disruptor shot, it's not even going to happen. It's going to get targeted down. And, oh, well, you know what? I got a little too excited. Looks like MaxPax is going to be able to fend this off as he finds himself up 2 upgrades. And maybe the upgrade lead is enough, but the kiting is a thing.
Well, if we look at the army supply, it's still pretty close, but we have to keep in mind Future did lose a lot of workers, so most of his supply is in his army, and he's up by more than 30 army supply right now. And this really shows, because MaxPax's army looks rather weak, to be honest. There's only Zealots and Archons, and both of which are kited pretty easily, and Ghosts will just wreck both of them, if we are being honest here.
This is true, but we don't have Future building that many Ghosts. And sure, he had a great opportunity, and yeah, he's still up 20 army supply, but he was up 30 army supply a second ago. And what he's dealing with here is, well, he needs to keep getting work done. He cannot lay off even for a second. He can't even really turn around to defend his 3rd base here, as he has to go, and he has to stem through, and he has to win the game right now, but it does not look like he will be able to do so here. As the turn happens, this Archon Splash going in, and MaxPax taking the lead in this series, 3-2. Off of the Hellraiser. Who first started playing this? I know I've seen Skilless do it. I know I've seen Hellraiser do it. I don't know who else, but do you know who innovated this just mass charge lot style that we're seeing these European Protoss play a little bit?
Guy in the chat. Pretty sure it's some guy in the chat who did this even before it was cool.
And who is that?
Any diamond level Protoss in the chat? Raise your hands, please.
Shout out to
I went for Mad Salads before it was cool.
I'll say shout out to Creighton here. Yeah, he's right. It's called Artosis stream cheating, when you call something and the player immediately does the opposite. As definitely happened there. I just need to learn to not talk. But we have a Golden Wall is going to be our 6th map. And that should be fun.
Golden Wall is an interesting map, because on paper it's slightly Protoss favored, but we have seen Terrans get a lot of damage in the early stages of the game, and then snowballing this damage with tanks and pushes connected to tanks that just make it really hard for the Protoss player to recover. Now, let's see if Future will go for something one base oriented, some nice Hellion drop shenanigans, or if he's just going for a 60 Marine drop, which also is really popular on this map.
That is definitely true, and what I love seeing with all this is you actually, when you see the mine through and you see the proxies on the bottom half of the map, but we can talk about that in a second, because we are loaded into game number 6.
And spawning in the bottom right, he's the red Terran player. He's representing Team Alpha X, and he also is the Future.
And in the bottom left, in the blue for Team Exxon, it is MaxPax. And, you know, what I really want to see here is Max. I've seen some proxy builds where the Stargate gets proxied really just in the, I don't know what you want to call it, the mineral walled natural, the position just south of the main base of both players, where you mine through the minerals on your south expansion, and then you just go across and you get the probably fastest possible Oracle. But I guess that is a little bit blasé, as this map has been in the map pool for 2 seasons, and it's created some of the best maps, or some of the best games we've seen recently. It's not my favorite map to play on, actually. I think I have it vetoed, but it does generate incredible games to watch. It's just not worth the stress for me.
You know, that's the thing with those esports titles. Like, you really love to see stressful games, but you hate to play them. For example, we love to see super back and forth matches where each player is just trading punches, but being in one of those matches is so stressful because you always have to be aware of your opponent coming back and hitting you with an attack you just didn't expect. And if there is somebody who would hit you with an attack that you wouldn't expect, it is MaxPax.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, those games are probably the most fun to play as well. But again, you know what? MaxPax, you're right. He creates weird games. He creates fun games. He creates crazy games. But again, that all is just part of the charm of this game and what makes this young player so exciting. Because he's what, 14, right? He's very young.
I think so. He has to be somewhere between 14 and 16 years old, which is amazing to me. Like how young those great players are. Future is something around 18, 19 as well, isn't he?
I don't know. I just know he's the future. We should really stop. Anyway, so we do have MaxPax with the probe out on the map. I don't know. This looks like it's just an attempted rescout, but with how little health it has and with the Marine on the arm, it really shouldn't get a lot seen. Actually, it's just going to barely survive. And we do have the Reaper kind of doing the same thing, floating in and out, trying to see what it can get done. And MaxPax already showing more gates. Well, no, okay. Yeah, showing more gates than he has shown early in previous games. As once again, he goes for that Oracle play. Ah, thank you. So he is Creighton Olsen and Bitterwood both telling me that he is 16. And I trust Liquipedia, and I trust Creighton as well, so that makes me, I don't know. It's good information to have. I shouldn't say it makes me happy, because someone being 16 versus 17 versus 27, none of that makes me happy particularly. I don't know. We'll stop. Yeah, you know what? Let's get back to the game. Don't make me think about things that aren't StarCraft. It's not going to work. It's fine.
To be honest, you have a point though. Seeing those young players makes me really happy, because it means that this game actually has a future and still draws in new players, even though it is 10 years old by now, which is a great thing for a game to achieve. That Oracle gets immediately denied by those Marines, gets a revelation of, but well, it did get a lot of damage as well, and we see the same type of build Future went for on Death Aura. This time around, the Starport isn't proxied though. I wonder how he is planning to play it this time around. If he will once again try to go for a move out. So far, he is looking to just play defensively, defend against those oracles, get some scouting information in with that Reaper. Gets into the natural, but decides to back off.
You know, I think you're right.
Will he?
Talking about this push, I do find myself rather worried for MaxPax here. Sure, he's got roughly even army supply compared to this opponent. Actually, well, less so now is losing the Oracle. But what does he have really to hold this off? There's no Robo units. It's just a couple slow Zealots and a couple Adepts and one Oracle. Like, sure, there come Phoenix coming out now, but this push is hitting before all the tech of MaxPax will be ready. And this is actually a great build order counter. Adaption. That's the word English. As Future runs in, he's trying to get something done, but even with that, this nice change he's made to his play, I don't think it's enough. As the Oracle, well, the Oracle was not fired down, and Oracles do a lot of damage, and this push will be rebuffed once again. You know, I said, you know, Future, you know, he sees the timings, he says, you know what, I think MaxPax is going to do us again. This is how he wants to play. I'm just going to push early. It's going to be good. I'm going to hit before your tech. Doesn't matter, because MaxPax did a great job of pushing into the tanks before they were sieged. And in doing so, well, there's a whole lot just less power in that attack.
Oh, no. Oh, do those units get in? No, they don't. Tank on the low ground will prevent any further damage taken by those Stalkers and Adepts. Now, this is becoming something to worry about if you're a Future fan, for where he is going for those move outs with tank support, and then just gets caught unsieged and gets completely run over by MaxPax. MaxPax is going back into his main base because there is that cloaked Banshee, and he needs those Phoenix and the Oracle to stop it from doing any more damage. But it has already done so much damage to the mineral line of MaxPax.
Yep, and not even that, he recalled his Oracle to his natural base, which is even worse. There is the extra time, you know, it took the Oracle to get there, which, yeah, again, 12 workers went down on, and that you know, that equalizes the game, especially as Future takes the third base. But we do actually have a massive push coming in the front, and this may just be enough to close out the game here, as both tanks are lifted, and it's not quite enough, but it is shaving the tech of Future off here, and that's enough in and of itself. But these Marines are just, no, they're not. With the tanks being there and the Marines being lifted up with these Phoenix in the air and the Chargelets as well, I think this, well, I'm hyping it up. It's just about it's not going to push through. Okay, but he will be able to get on top of these upgrades, and that's relatively nice. It's going to force Future to come out. Charles is going to once again go on, and now the tank can be lifted. And with it, the army of Future is just really maybe not strong enough. Now, the SCV repair is doing a great job here, and the tank will survive. Behind that, on the other side of the map, we do have a second Banshee on the way in. The Banshee is cloaked. There is no photon cannon here. There is no Oracle, and in doing so, this Banshee is just going to get 4 kills and leave. I don't know if that equalizes the damage that Future has taken on the other side of the map, and it may in fact be, as he's going to be able to force MaxPax back once again, and actually pick off a sentry. Artos is casting. He's pushing through. He's just about. Oh nope, we're back. Okay.
You know, there is that Artosis curse. Usually, it only applies to series and the players who are supposed to win those series. But this time around, it looks like this curse also hits casters when they are casting in game.
Yeah, that appears to be the case.
So,
but you know what's interesting here is, as more aggressive as this game has been, this is a mirror image of what we just saw on Everdream. Really same results. We just have the mass Chargelet style and a Chargelet Archon Phoenixes. MaxPax doing what he wants to do, and Future is finding himself a little bit behind. It's not as disastrous as it was last game, I will say that. Right, it's not like Future really just had his entire army evaporated on a push. or I should say that happened, but it wasn't the big army that happened, right, that pushed a little later, that got eviscerated by by Zealot Charge. And in this game, we're not. I don't think we're gonna have quite so massive upgrade leads as we saw last time. Although it is, we. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
And
Future
actually,
is trying to push out on the map, and once again he's caught unsieged. Those Phoenix are going for the lift, and those Zealots are just once again on top of those Marines. The Marines are trying to micro their heart out, but another wave of Zealots comes in, and GG is called. MaxPax takes the next game, and now he's up by 2 points.
do you know what this
Isn't
means?
he?
Even more than just being up 2 points. MaxPax is on max point. Or match point. I
Is
hate
it
myself.
max point?
It's max point. It's the max. Well, no. Technically, if he wins next game, if he wins one more game, then it'll be max point because of the max number of points he can get.
Let's see which map Future decides to play on this time around. There's only one map left, right?
Yep. We have Ice and Chrome coming up for game number 7. I believe that's how the rules work. I think you have to go through every single map before you get to start
Yep.
going through games again.
Yeah. So, if Future should be able to make it this time around, I would give the lead to MaxPax because he gets to choose the map he's most confident on. And
Okay, so it looks like we may be taking a break. We may be not. We'll let you know what that happens there. But it appears Future's in a bit of a rush. That being said, we've had some great games thus far. We've had adaptations from Future as he tries to maybe punish that greedy style that MaxPax is going for into just mass charge slots. You know, you get a bunch of... It's the whole evolution of StarCraft, right? The greedier you can be earlier, the less greedy you have to be later.
okay, so so I really like how MaxPax is doing this though, because he's so well in picking those engagements. Every time he engages, he manages to catch Future unsieged. He manages to get on top of the Marines with those Zealots. He manages to get Future to engage in a really open area, which obviously helps those Zealots go for those surrounds and get their damage out as well as possible. And then he just rolls over Future. It happened on Death Aura. We think back on this game, there was a big Terran army with good upgrades, but then there was a horrible engagement for Future, which was initiated by MaxPax. Crushed Future's army, GG. We saw Everdream. There was that initial attack by Future, hitting with Stim, and I believe it was +1 attack upgrades. Completely decimated by those chargelets. And
Yeah.
now we saw the same thing once again. Future moving across the map, not really sure of where the Protoss army is at, and then just got caught unsieged and got completely crushed.
You know, the interesting thing about that last game, right, is he did kind of have an inkling of where the Protoss army was. He saw parts of it. He saw what everything was. And MaxPax was just able to, really, again, you're talking about through superior vision, was able to lure him into a position where he thought that the Protoss army was still in front of him, just due to a couple Zealots that had been left there, but the main body of the Protoss army had swung around from the side and got some really juicy Archon shots off to start as well. Actually, no, there weren't Archons in that last game. Never mind. Just really juicy shots from the initial charge and from the Phoenix just lifting every single tank. And tanks are great, as long as they're able to fire. And they were not allowed to fire that last game. That's for daggone sure.
It has been the same story with those early tank timings that Future has been trying to hit as well. Because he never really got his siege tanks up. He never really got any bunkers up with those SCVs he pulled. It was always MaxPax getting the initial engagement and choosing to do so, and catching parts of Future's army or just all of the army completely unprepared.
Yep. And, you know, okay, so game 7 will be on Ice and Chrome. We do have a lobby. We just gave the players a couple seconds to catch their breath. Although, you know, again, Future, seeing his future right ahead of him, just wants to charge on forward. And as such, we have a lobby. And we have players loading on for potentially the last game of our first best of 9 today, because if you thought this was good, we got another one coming up. It's going to be Estrella versus Clem, which, okay, I mean, that's an incredible matchup we're going to get. And while we have this map loading into our map number 7, I should take a second to plug the fact that if you want to support these players, there's a Matcherino page. You can donate for free. I believe it's about a 50-cent code. You go on there, you plug the code in, and you say, hey, these players deserve the money. So, with that plug happened, we have our players loaded in to... 1 second. Loaded in to map number 7. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's do so indeed. Spawning in the top right. He's a red Terran player. He is representing Alpha X and is down currently, so give it up for Future.
All right, and in the bottom left, on max point in the blue, it is MaxPax.
Hey, signature move!
I mean, when you have 3 games to give, as MaxPax does, get an easy win. And as we were talking about, right, when MaxPax went and he did the MaxPax build on Submarine. It's a small map. It makes sense to be aggressive. That being said, proxies don't necessarily make as much sense because, again, the rush distance is shorter. You get less benefit from the proxy. However, on the longest map of the pool with the longest rush distance, yeah, proxies make a whole lot of sense here, especially if they are able to be unscouted. And it's a higher likelihood that they will be unscouted, of course, because the rush distance is longer. It takes longer for the SCV or the Reaper or whatever it is to get across the map here. So all those things mean that this is, you know, if that was a good strategy choice on Submarine, it is a great strategy choice here on...
He's scouting, he's scouting, he's
Oh,
scouting!
he's going to see it? But he's not going to see it, right?
No!
He's just followed. He just has his SCV clicked on the natural, clicked on the main base, and MaxPax has played this exact game hundreds of times at this point, probably. He knows how far away he needs to put his SCV, or he needs to put the gateway so the SCV doesn't scout it. He knows all of these things. And therefore...
Okay, so Future is about to get into the main base with his SCV, and then he will see that there is indeed no gateway. He will see that he is once again being MaxPax, and let's see how he decides to reply this time around, because the last time around he was caught pretty much off guard. Now the Zealots are closing in. The Reaper is a little bit out of position. Will not immediately.
Oh, he's going to be able to zone the
attack
Reaper out. That's awesome. We are on North America, though, correct?
I think so.
Yeah. So what that means, Future is in a little bit better of a position here. He does not have the micro disadvantage that he did previously, and this probably will not kill him. That being said, with the Stalker on the way, Stalker's micro are just, they have better micro potential than every single unit that Future has here. And this is actually looking great. The Zealots are going to get on top, but the Stalker's stuck at the bottom here. And I think Future's going to be able to hold this. Question is, how much damage does he take as he holds? The Stalker doing a good job microing back, and we have a second Stalker on the way. And 2 Stalkers are, of course, better, in fact, than 1. And the Reaper's going to be able to get out. The Stalkers, however, got to be careful. It doesn't want to die. Wants to not lose everything. There's a second Stalker on the way here, too. And you know what? The funny thing about this game is SCVs are actually really good against Stalkers. Obviously, when upgrades are there, it doesn't really matter. But MaxPax actually microing this incredibly well here. As both Stalkers, they're low, but they're not out. And now the bunker is done. And we have MaxPax at a 6-worker lead, and that's really how this is supposed to go. This build is not supposed to end the game. This build is just supposed to give MaxPax an advantage and make it easier for him to progress into the mid-game here, as this is just the 1 scouting Hellion. This is not any sort of TY build, as Future already has a tech lab on the factory, getting ready to do something else. And it looks like he's afraid of some sort of Stargate follow-up here. We have a Cyclone on the way, but I guess that's just imminently just a defensive unit regardless.
Well, yeah, the Cyclone is great if you want to force those Stalkers away, because they need to run. Like, there's no way you're fighting the Cyclone and the Marines in the bunker. So those Stalkers will eventually get forced away. He did Did he cancel the Cyclone?
He did, in fact,
Looks
cancel the
like it.
Cyclone. I guess it's one of those things. I'm going to put it in production, and if I need it, if I see MaxPax really pushing in, sure, I'll let it complete. Otherwise, I'm going to cancel it, and I'm going to start a Siege Tank. That, or it may just be I wanted to get a Siege Tank, and I kind of misclicked. Both are possible here, but we just have really fast... Is this fast Disruptor coming here from MaxPax, or is it just kind of your standard Colossus play? Because we do not have a Twilight Council yet. We do have, or at least we don't have Twilight Council upgrades.
That siege tank damage is just incredible against those stalkers. But as you said, I think this is going to be a disruptor drop. The Warp Prism is, or is it? Warp Prism is on the field. Now the lift into the main base might just confuse, get Future out of his rhythm strongly enough that
Oh, the micro here. As remember, MaxPax is effectively blinking these stalkers, even without blink, because that's what the Warp Prism does. There's nothing that can shoot them down here. As they just get on, well, they can maybe get, okay, they're just going to get right on top of the tank. Tank is going to go down, and with the SCVs being pulled, what can Future do? Nothing! He can do nothing, and MaxPax taking the first best of 9 here today, 5-2. And there we have it. One on the board for Exxon, as MaxPax doing the MaxPax build, not ending the game, but with his impeccable blink micro when he doesn't even have blink on the field, is enough to take the game on Ice and Chrome, and with it the series, and with it however much money is put up, I'm not really sure. Didn't ask before the broadcast. That probably, looking back on it, that was a mistake. But some amount of money goes to MaxPax for some incredible games, and it's exciting.
man, it's just amazing to me how good MaxPax micro was there. Like keeping all those stalkers alive with that Warp Prism, warping in additional stalkers, picking off essential units with those Marines and the tank. It was just amazing play by MaxPax, and you could really see how he had all of this planned out. You saw Future going for those what if moves with that Cyclone, and MaxPax just went straight for that Warp Prism. He knew, okay, I did some damage in the early game, and from there on, I'm just going to put on the pressure bit by bit. If he defends that stalker aggression with a tank on the high ground, I'm still fine because I'm transitioning into those Colossi. If he doesn't, well, I get some damage in, I disrupt his rhythm, and I get his tech a little bit delayed. He got in, and he managed to do even more than just disrupting the rhythm. He managed to take the win by killing all of those Marines and all of the fighting units as it is.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Being able to get on top of that tank, even as Future is desperately... I mean, SCVs are pulling one thing to, make sure that it's a little extra damage, and they're actually pretty good against stalkers. But on top of that, they were a human mechanical wall against the stalkers getting on top of that tank. If the tank can only siege, if it can stay alive, maybe Future has a chance in that game. But as MaxPax is able to wiggle his way through the surround, is able to get forward and just kill that tank, that was the linchpin that Future was relying on to maybe hold that attack. And that just, with it gone, Future had to tap out. And with that being true, MaxPax, our champion of our first show match of the day. Now, we do have another one coming up in about 30 minutes, I believe. I don't know if we're going to get started sooner rather than that. It will be on this channel. It's going to be Estrella versus Clum. That will have its own Matcherino code. We'll have all those things. But for the moment, I guess it's time to refill your water bottle. Go to the restroom if you've been on the edge of your seat like I have. And we'll be back in 30 minutes. I don't know if you have any final words before we go to a break, Black One.
Stay tuned.
That one works to me. We will be we'll be back in 30 minutes. Don't go anywhere.